Hang on. I look on here and I can tell when we are live, which we're probably live now. Yep.
All right. Well, good morning. Here is a word I want you to take a second to define in your mind. Are you ready? Expectation. Did you ponder the meaning of that word? Good. Now let me give you the formal definition of it. According to Webster's, it can be defined as the act of considering someone or something bound in duty or obligated. The other day, my husband asked me a simple question. Do you hold any grudges against your parents for anything in your upbringing? It didn't take me any time to answer the question. My answer was no, absolutely not. He then asked, okay, why not? The next answer was also very easy to answer, and that is what I want to talk to you about today. Growing up, we can all give an account of a positive thing in our many positive things in our childhood, as well as negative things in our childhood. This is something that we all have in common. Something we also have in common is that no matter how great or not so great our parents were, our childhood was their adulthood journey. When they were raising us, they were on their path of their adulthood journey. And as a child, I was a part of their journey and on that path. But it wasn't until I reached the age where I could begin making my own decisions and steps in my own direction without asking permission from my parents that I began my journey, my adult journey. Whatever my parents did or did not do while I was on their journey with them was completely their choice to make. I feel they nailed it many times, but there are some things that I would definitely have done differently. No matter my opinion on it, it was their life to live however they chose. Now, on my journey, I and only I get to walk it. No one else can walk it for me. If I succeed or fail, that's up to me. If I add people to my journey, like a spouse or children, it's still my journey. It's still my path that I'm walking on. The point, each person counts for one and only one. And we have the privilege to choose how we want to live. But what happens to cause blame, regret, frustration, disappointment, or irritation in relationships is that somewhere along the way, expectations are made. We expect others to see things our way. They expect us to see it their way. We expect others to think our way. They expect us to think their way. We expect others to carry our weight, and they expect us to carry theirs. We expect others to speak or respond a certain way, and they expect the same of us. Now, remember, our definition of expectation was bound in duty or obligation. No person on this planet should be bound by another in duty or obligation. In fact, nothing we do should ever be done out of obligation. We're not to live an obligated life. We owe no one anything, and no one owes us anything. There's freedom in that. There's true freedom in that mindset. Whatever we choose to do in life should come from love, not obligation. If I put an expectation on you and then you do not perform for me, that's on me. You should not perform for me or do anything for me out of obligation. Please don't ever do that. Love, however, is a beautiful place. That's where things should always come from. 1 John 4:17 says God is love. When we take up permanent residence in a life of love, we live in God and God lives in us. This way, love has the run of the house, becomes at home and mature in us, so that we're free of worry on Judgment Day. Our standing in the world is identical with Christ. There's no room in love for fear. Well-formed love banishes fear, since fear is crippling and fearful and gives a fearful life. Fear of death, fear of judgment is one not yet fully formed in love. Therefore, I will act from a place of love when it comes to you, and I am sure you will do the same when it comes to me. Disappointment in life is a reality, but most of the disappointment comes from our own unrealistic expectations that we place on the top of shoulders of another human who has their own walk to walk and doesn't owe me a thing. Our Heavenly Father sees life from a much higher vantage point. He's very aware that we have this characteristic in us that feels like it needs to put expectations out there. So he's very clear on where to put our expectations. Psalm 62:5. My soul waiteth thou upon God, for my expectation is from him. The word expectation here is translated as hope, expectancy, expectant. There's only one shoulder strong enough to carry my expectations, and that shoulder belongs to my Heavenly Father. Psalm 71:5. For thou art my hope, O Lord. Thou art my trust from my youth. Again, expectation is that word hope. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Here is where my expectations go, and here is where my expectations come from. In her book, Fight Girl Fight, Reverend Shirley Weidenhammer states, I'm reminded that I can listen to God with an attitude of expectancy, and so can you. I think about heroes from biblical times, Esther, Abigail, Ruth, and Mary, to name a few. These women who believed God to carry out a heavenly vision in their day and time. In Jeremiah 33, verse 3, it says, call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. God longs for us to raise our thoughts in his direction, place our expectations on him, call upon him. Time and time again, I have personally heard God speak, I will never forsake you. And he also states it throughout his word. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Psalms 37:34, wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. That word wait in this verse, expect. Put your expectations on him. He won't disappoint. Psalms 27:14, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. I no longer need to seek others who can carry my expectations. I have a family member who became very frustrated with me when I first moved to Amarillo. It's close to where she lives. And she had lots of ideas of things that we were going to do together. And they were great ideas. But when I moved here, I was transitioning to a new life and I had my own things I needed to work on for a bit. Several times she would get frustrated with me to the point of anger. I realized one day she has expectations on me that I'm not meeting. When I tried to have a conversation about this, it did not go well. As I drove away, I was frustrated and angry until I realized, Kalyn, you expected that she would see things your way and then it would be resolved and be okay. I can guarantee you, I did not enter that conversation with a love-based mentality. I entered it expecting that once she saw my view, she would get over it. When she didn't, I was mad at her. Expectation and obligation should never be the motive behind anything I do, say, think, or believe. Here are the only two things that if you want to use the word expect, you can use from others. I expect that it is God at work within them. And I expect that all things work together for good for those who love him. And that's it. Don't take anything people say or do personally. This is simply a projection of what's going on inside of them. Let me repeat it. Don't take anything people say or do personally. It's simply a projection of what's going on inside of them. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks. This is how we turn dark into light, how light shines bright and heals those in the path. The greatest way to change the world is to change yourself. When my husband asked me, okay, why not? Regarding do I hold grudges from my upbringing, my answer was this. My parents were learning when they were raising me. They were learning who they were, what they liked, what they believed. To expect them to have life figured out before they brought me into this world would be foolish and very unkind of me. This is what I do have. I have gratitude for the good. I have forgiveness for the bad. I'm honest about anything that I want to heal. And I love them for who they are, where they are, and what they are. Remember, in several past talks we've had, we talked about the four points of living a free life, and they are very simple. Live in gratitude. Live in honesty. Live in forgiveness. Live in love. It is truly that simple. Shine bright, my friend.